So this is the Rad, Bad, and Sad show. And today, what are we doing today, Ben?
Today, it's almost like we're doing something that we've never done before, but at the same time, we are going to talk about a regular LA building that's not a totally regular LA building.
That's right. Yeah.
Somewhere in between our typical protocol. So we are going to talk about the LA Times building in downtown Los Angeles. It is between, Broadway and Spring, and between 1st and 2nd Street.
That's right. It's on the corner of First and Spring.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about the first one in that location. There are many LA Times buildings, but there are also 2 other additions. So we are going to focus on the Art Deco one.
Right. And so the premise of this show typically is kind of a drive-by impression. So we are going to kind of cover some bases and talk about a few historical points, but generally what we do is just kind of banter and kind of give our impressions about each building as if we were driving by and kind of seeing it for the first time. So as Ben had mentioned, it's at 201 1st Street and completed in 1935. It's designed by the architect Gordon Kaufman. I like Mr. Kaufman's Wikipedia insert, which says that he was mostly known for his work on the Hoover Dam, which I immediately thought, well, maybe he was the window washer or the craft.
He opened the valve. He was like, "I'm opening the valve."
Yeah. He was the valve guy on the hour, the top of the hour. No, but he was the architect for the Hoover Dam, which is obviously impressive. He's also notably the architect for Greystone Mansion, which Ben, I know, is a big fan of because it involves one of his favorite scenes from the movie There Will Be Blood.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah,
I knew what's Greystone Mansion? That sounds so familiar. That's
in There Will Be Blood, in the scene where he's going, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm getting my scenes mixed up." But your favorite scene is the I drink your milkshake, which I think is actually in a cafe, which is an incredible place. And the Hollywood Palladium, which Ben and I have a little recent history with that as well, because we went and saw Bauhaus there about a year ago.
Oh, yeah. And he also did a big building at one of the Claremont colleges.
Right. And, in addition, a building at the Caltech.
Yeah, there was. I didn't look at that building.
Yeah. This is certainly a man about town, so to speak, and was had some pretty important buildings. And so this building, completed in 1935, was not only a monumental kind of new building for the LA Times, but it also was a responsive building, which I thought was interesting. Did you kind of find out much about the sort of the bombing from the previous building?
Yeah. I had known about that bombing. If you don't know, there was the LA Times building that came before this one was actually bombed, and they basically blew the whole thing up. But they the second building. There was one more in between, the third, and the one that we're talking about is the fourth. It's actually the fourth building. Yeah, but the second one was bombed. Oh, okay, yeah. But the design of this one was heavily affected by the trauma that the owner.
Right.
And so he wanted to make sure that this building could never be bombed.
Right.
And so, it's like a fortress.
Right. Yeah.
Not
completely.
a typical building.
Yeah, this is like the Fort Knox of newspaper buildings for sure. So, and that definitely, I think, reads in the way that you look at the building.
Also, I found out this is the first building in America to completely have air conditioning.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Yeah. That's so cool. Forced air conditioning units up in the top floor that would push cold air throughout the building. Anyway, so that's kind of a little bit of the sort of history of it. And, if you're driving by and kind of seeing this scene, if you're from out of town, my first impression of this is just that it looks to me like the wedding cake that you don't cut it cuts you. Like it's like the wedding cake that fights back. Like it's
like the wedding cake that you can't cut. Like you think it's a cake, and then you try to cut it, and you realize it's actually concrete.
Right.
Like,
it's like one of those trick candles that you can't blow out. You're all ready to shove a piece of it into your bride's face, and
and it's not. It's like a weapon. No, it's very sort of Gotham City. Like I really much think about like Batman and sort of like, this is where you can't go, especially that top part. There's that whole top portion that kind of looks like you could compare it to the top of a wedding cake. You know, it's like only the bride and groom are allowed to have it. But that seems like it needs to be the apartment of some big fancy,
right,
like wealthy person, or a superhero, or the bad dude. You know,
a villain. Yeah,
yeah.
A maniacal villain lives up there in the top of in the clock tower. Yeah, I think that and you know, not only is this building going to fight you back and be resistant, but also it's got the clock there to let you know what time you died when it killed you.
Yeah, because it's definitely going to kill you on that balcony. Like right. There's one balcony in the front, and then there's those two huge yards on the side. But right. yeah, you're going to know. And it also sort of like forces itself onto the street. You know, it's almost like a sort of like, what is it, like a rooster or even a male human sort of rearing up. Sure. Like, oh, do you want to fight? Like,
very proud.
Come on. Yes, very proud.
Totally proud. That's
chest
true.
out.
That's true. Yeah, it's got a lot of machismo. Yeah, I also feel like it really, to me, looks like this like the most heavy duty kind of like inline 12 like engine. Like if you were like to uncover the sort of the hood of Los Angeles, like this building is like the engine that just cranks the gears and keeps all of it going. It's just this massive mechanical thing.
Yeah, it's almost like, you know, in Mad Max when he has that engine and it sticks out of the hood.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I see what you're saying. It's like that's the engine, and the top part is the part that they have to cut a hole in the hood because it has to stick out of the hood. Right.
Like, you remember the kind of cartoons where somebody would have to like swallow the bomb, and instead of blowing up, their stomach would just kind of like expand just a little bit, and then they would blow the smoke out. Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of building that's just that it looks like you could throw the bomb, try us again with another bomb and see what happens, and it would just like take it. And as you walk in, if you see pictures of the interior of it, if you walk in, there's like this giant rotunda interior that's got this giant globe in the middle that almost looks like the kind of the nucleus of the bomb. It's burying you to plant in there.
I remember walking by once and not totally knowing that was a building I was walking in front of, and then I glanced in and I was like, oh my God, look at that awesome situation. Yeah, the guy that painted the mural all the way around it painted the mural at Griffith Park Observatory. And then they have a whole globe in there. But it's awesome. The globe, I think, is like 6 feet in diameter, and it's really kind of an amazing moment. But yeah, the nucleus is a good analogy for that room.
Well, you know, another tidbit thing that I've noticed about the interior that I thought was particularly interesting to you is that there's a car at one point in the mural that's just like a little, it looks like and you love Saabs, you know, like when I first met you had this amazing kind of old Saab. It looks like a Saab and a speed bump had a baby. And it's like this kind of like futurist, like this building was built in 1935, but yet there's this murals of all this kind of Art Deco looking kind of artwork and stuff. And then right in the corner is this like little Jetsons looking little car that looks like it's out of like, you know, today.
It does. It kind of looks like the Buckminster Fuller car, but almost better. Yeah, it's kind of like a teardrop in a van had a baby or something. But that car is awesome. I miss my Saab. I had this whole thing happen where I was like, the car we have now is not that amazing, and I was just feeling really low about our car, and I went outside our house. I was going to go to work, and there was this gorgeous Saab, like basically the same car that I had, but you know, a different color. And I just, on a whim, I just wrote a letter to the guy, and I was like, "You want to sell this car?" And he got back to me. He's all, "No, I just got it." He was like, I used to have one and I didn't have one. And then I was going through my old stuff and I found this old key of my old Saab. And I was like, oh, I miss that car so much. And I went and bought another one. And he's like, you should too. Yeah.
Amazing. Do you remember that movie, The Friday? With Chris Tucker and Ice Cube? And one of my favorite lines was, looks like a bunch of spiders are having a meeting on his head. He was talking about his dad's hair.
Big worm.
Yeah. This is like giant, like these kind of like Gothic outrigger flying buttress kind of ribs that come off the top of the tower up the top of this building. It looks like a spider, It's almost like when you watch those National Geographic things and you see like an eagle that picks up like a three-toed sloth or something. It looks like a spider has picked up an animal that's like 4 times its size and has just cradled it in and like kind of keeping it for the winter.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I was going to talk about the top too. The way the top just doesn't have any windows on it, or there's just one on the front. And those buttresses do look like the thing could kind of get up and just walk away.
Yeah. It's
just kind of menacing. Or it's like the weird, creepy spider that's just on top of the building and it's just waiting to pounce.
Yeah. It's just like the flagpole is just the slight, like little sort of indication of the string that you can see as it's dropping down from its web to pick up this building. Yeah, it's an intense building, man. I think it certainly is, I think, an amazing example of Art Deco, but it kind of has an identity of its own. Like, it's built during the time when everything was kind of more streamlined, modern, and kind of more, everything was going to give the feeling of kind of fastness and speed, and everything was like, and also, if, you know, the kind of like subtle like indications of like Southern California, because you got not only the Spanish tile copper top looking kind of thing up top, but you also have almost kind of ziggurat-ish kind of like South American Inca Mayan kind of you know, pyramidal kind of form to the building.
Crenellation up and down.
So if you were to like, if you didn't know this building, you know, what it was or what its function is, and if you were to kind of drive by it, what would be your first like inclination of maybe what would happen there?
That is a good question. I mean, it's so hard to say because I know what happens there, but
I'd like to think it's just like a giant bakery. There's just like 6 levels of like donuts just happening in there. I'm like,
it's got to be donuts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I would probably think it was a theater because I grew up in Oakland and Berkeley, and there was a really gorgeous Art Deco theater. And I just always, when I think of Art Deco, I think theater, right, with a big building. So I think that's what I would think. God,
this would be the largest IMAX theater ever. Just huge, like the size of a football field.
The bakery. Yeah, they could turn the basement into a bakery. They could get rid of all the printing presses and just bake.
You can invite all your friends and their family to go to the movies at the LA Times building. What would you do differently to this building? Like, if you like literally just had a quick sort of glance at this and like designer decisive kind of thing, even if it was like kind of something funny and kind of goofy, what, like, to me, the face of that tower where the Times letters are,
the front, if you will,
like, that's just, it seems like a blank canvas to kind of want to do something up there. And like, I think it would be funny to do something like to throw in like Corbu, like ribbon windows or something in there. Like, suddenly it would look just so insane compared to all like the detail.
Just put the Philistine wall right on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, raise the whole building up on pilotis. But like the really skinny ones, like you know, like Villa Savoie.
Actually, it would be hilarious to take the top part of the cake and just put it on pilotis, and then put a huge ribbon window where the Times, it says the Times.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's someone who would want to do that. I mean, I think I would be more inclined to do it more. Now that I've started talking about the building being taller, I think I would just make it a whole bunch taller and then put the top on it. But your idea is much more ridiculous.
You know, though, do you know those buildings? There's these buildings called by Best Products that they used to make, where they're like, that has the crumbling facade.
Yeah. Site was the architects, SITE.
Yeah. It's sort of the site, the Best Products buildings. Like, I feel like this building would look amazing if it had some kind of, like, it'd be a fun, ironic thing where even though it's built to withstand the bomb, there was like a big giant, like, sort of like hole in the side of it that looked like a bomb kind of exploded. So that rooftop patio was kind of a jagged railing line all around it. So it looked like something kind of blew, and the doors would be this like big giant kind of like hole that looked like something like kind of bursted out of it.
Actually, yeah, that sort of plays into, it's an interesting sort of historical fear to turn into a building. If it just had a big old hole blown in one of the corners, and it's such a heavy looking building, that if then it had this massive like 2-story hole blown into it, so it looked like it was going to fall over, but that was actually part of the building, and you just sort of you took history and you turned it into a building. I mean, that's that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
I know I keep going back to this idea of the sort of the bomb reaction, but I mean, this literally almost looks like the robots that you send in to defuse the bomb. Like it looks like the machine it like can withstand the blast so much that you remote control it in to defuse a bomb.
Yeah. I mean, once you see that, I mean, it has such an overwhelming presence of sort of strength, and because even the sort of copy of it, the really bad copy of it behind it, really feels paper thin.
Yeah.
Like as soon as those lines come like that one looks like King Kong would have utterly no trouble. Just like he could just take his toenail and kind of scratch off walls. But this thing, you know, and even who's to say, I mean, I guess it is pretty strong, but really it's all about that sort of relief and what they did with that and gave it that sort of strength. And then it also has this sort of, you know, it's kind of like a pyramid, you know, it gets smaller and smaller as it gets to the top. And the pyramid is going to be like the most difficult thing to tear down because of its shape like that. And so it speaks to that. But
either way, King Kong's got to cut those toenails. I love that. I love that example. King Kong's toenail. Like that.
Well, I brought up King Kong and he could mess anything up. But then I was like, this is a paper thin building. So
I like that as a litmus test, like a building litmus test. Like, well, okay, how does it stand up to the King Kong toenail? Yeah, it looks good. You know, it's obviously well engineered, but at the end of the day, how's it going to stand up to the King Kong toenail test?
Yeah, I think the modern edition would stand up a little bit more to King Kong's toenail.
Yeah,
but the bad copy, no dice.
Yeah,
that thing would fall over in a heartbeat.
Do you think this building would be fun at a party, or would it be kind of uptight and serious?
Oh, I think it'd be uptight and serious.
Yeah. It does look like it's wearing like a lot of sort of like power ties.
It's got the suit. It's got the buttons are all the way up to the top. It's got the shoes. You know, it may look good.
Yeah.
But it seems a little. I think it looks very uptight.
Yeah. I think it's meticulous. So I think it probably still does pretty well with the ladies because it like it has a lot of like respect for itself and is like obviously like conscientious of how it presents itself and really dresses really well and meticulously. But at the end of the day, you know, you spend an hour or so with it, you might be kind of like looking for somebody else at the party to kind of hang out with. You know, here you go.
I think so.
For an escape route.
This is the uptight guy that goes to the party and looks amazing and gets mad that nobody just comes up to him and talks to him.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like,
I did all this.
Spend 2 hours getting ready.
Exactly. And he's just not sort of willing to relax and just have a good time. But he's, you know, it's sort of, you know, too much time spent on one thing and not enough time spent on everything.
Yeah. I feel like this building almost like looks like it could look a little better if you squint at it a little bit. Just kind of give it a little bit of fuzziness and kind of like and try to like sort of de-articulate it a little bit. And it kind of makes it a little bit kind of dreamy and sort of like it looks like it could be lighter and float away if it just has a little bit of a kind of a flickery kind of staticness to it. Almost like it's on a film reel from like an old 30s film reel from around the time that it was made.
Yeah, it definitely looks way more incredible when it's in like this black and white photographs, and then you almost want someone to take it into Photoshop and make it look like it's nighttime and it's raining, and it has a very sort of almost Blade Runner feel, you know. It's really like this, and it would be much bigger, but it really goes right into Blade Runner. It is able to sort of feel futuristic and old at the same time, and very ominous. It's very dystopic, you know. This is almost a building that you could see sort of surviving the zombie apocalypse, you know. And in many ways, like maybe it could, but you would see it there, and everything is not that great. But that building is still standing with, you know, a couple chips here and there. But then the one that Godzilla took out with his toenail is just long gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very LA aesthetic kind of thing. This sort of like dreamy dystopian kind of thing. Where's that contrast of like the kind of like the the dark and the romantic at the same time. You know, it's almost like a David Lynch film. You know, this definitely has that kind of sort of quality to it. This like ominous presence of something that's kind of quiet and not necessarily in your face, but just has like, it's such an aesthetic of ominousness that it kind of creates this kind of surrealism. It's just sitting there.
It really does. I mean, there's that photo that you found of this guy sort of jackhammering this building in the foreground.
Yeah.
And you read that was the other LA Times building.
Oh, that okay.
That was the Victorian LA Times building. Right. And then they just tore it down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to sort of like, but that image really, really captures sort of that aesthetic. And it's also, you think about those outside areas upstairs, you know, and that's so sort of dystopic, you know, it's if you're wealthy, you can sort of be above everything and you can have this big, massive open area and you can look down on everything. And so it kind of plays into that aesthetic anyway, in a weird way. It's kind of interesting to think about how architecture sort of accidentally creates that aesthetic and sort of the have and the have-nots.
You know, those buildings were so pissed off at each other. They were just taunting each other from across the street, like an old, like sort of like street gang kind of scene where the new buildings getting built in this like kind of really fancy Art Deco thing, and the old kind of like stone Victorian thing is forgotten, and it's still standing. It wasn't even blown up. It just was like out of style suddenly and out of taste. Yeah. And but like all this work went into that kind of that third building, and then this new guy comes on the block and like just gets to just sit there proudly and smirk at it as it's being torn apart brick by brick. You know?
Yeah, jackhammered apart. I mean, that guy in that photo, he doesn't even have a rope or anything. He's just like jackhammering.
Yeah. This is before. This is the pre-OSHA days of the demolition business.
Like, I'm just up here on the 5th floor with a jackhammer. No worries.
Yeah. It wasn't safety first. It was like safety. How do you spell that?
Yeah. What is safety?
What is safety?
Well, that might, you know, the Hoover Dam, that's where they invented the hard hat.
No kidding.
There was so many guys died at the Hoover Dam. They invented the hard hat, and then they started, because the guys would be, I guess, way down at the bottom and things would be falling and they would just get hit on the head and then they would just be dead. And so that's what they invented the hard hat.
Because nothing protects you from falling 300 feet like a hard hat.
I think it's more from stuff itself. But it's interesting to think about all the LA Times buildings that got torn down, and then this is the one that kind of really survived.
Well, maybe that
was the intention.
Maybe that's an interesting segue. I mean, not to kind of get off the topic of this building, but as you know, so they've left this building in 2018. And moved their headquarters to El Segundo to, you know, just to kind of get a juxtaposition, like to the most banal, corporate, boring, like just like.
They said they built that building. I was like, how could you build a building if this was the building you left?
Like, it's not even interesting enough to be normcore. It's like, it's awful. And it's like right off the freeway in El Segundo. And that's like that. There must have been just like trail of tears having to leave this building to go to that thing over in El Segundo.
I know, it's so odd to think about sort of a company that will literally just totally forget about architecture. I mean, they could have even taken, you know, the Godzilla Toenail building and just kind of sort of built that one again or something like that. You know, they had enough money.
Yeah.
It's like they picked up some garbage building out of a catalog and then just stuck LA Times on it. No, it's just an embarrassment.
You know, if they had probably asked Elon nicely, they probably could have, Elon could have figured out a way to basically put this thing on a truck and roll it over to El Segundo. Like they move houses, like raise
Elon
it up.
He would have built a tunnel. He would have wanted to put it underground first.
Yeah, he could have bored out a giant tunnel under this building. It would have just dropped down into the tunnel, and they could have just linked it to El Segundo and then plopped it back up and sprouted it like a carrot. And just,
exactly.
You know,
yeah. Now that he lives in Texas, he has so much more money. He's going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
No, they should have asked Elon.
He's given up on California. So,
did you see that when he was like complaining about California and then he left, and then like a week later they were like, Elon Musk is now the second richest man in the world. And I was like, I guess we were taking a lot of his money.
Yeah. Well, now he's the richest.
Or no, that maybe he was the richest.
He is the richest now, I think. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this thing almost looks like one of the boring machines that he made for boring those holes. I mean, it just has like, it's like just, hundreds and hundreds of intersplicing kind of gears.
Yeah.
I'd like to see this thing. This thing would make like an amazing kind of like superhero glove or something, like if you could stick your hand up in there and like, it's like the ultimate like brass knuckle. It's like it's the art duckle. It's the art duckle.
The art duckle. The brass knuckle art duckle.
The brass art duckle. When you would, I mean, imagine
Art Deco brass. I know I think that's what they give to all the LA Times reporters if they're in a bad situation.
Yeah.
Give them a brass knuckle that looks like the LA Times. Yeah, no, I mean I was thinking more like a massive paperweight. Like I'd want to see it like in relief in metal and not really that well done, but you would still know exactly what it is,
Yeah.
The details wouldn't be perfect and it would kind of look like it melted a little bit too much at the end of the process, but it was like solid as a rock.
Yeah. It'd be amazing to like if this was one of those buildings you had to make in a bottle. Like people try to make sail ships or sailboats in a bottle.
They do.
Like really high detail. Like when you were describing that, I was thinking about like a engagement ring of diamonds where like the cut of the ring is basically the same kind of detail of this building. So the ring would look like a little diamond version of the LA Times building, because it almost looks like it's in a ring setting anyway, with all the kind of like all the vertical columns that sort of hug the real mass of the building. It looks like something like a precious gem or something that's kind of in a setting.
So you're saying that the thing coming out of the top is like the finger itself, and then everything else is the ring?
Yeah, like the tower could be part of the gem, but the bottom floors is kind of the other, like the base of the gem that's like sitting inside of the ring setting. Yeah, man, that would be one hell of the engagement ring. She better say yes if you go to the trouble. Can you imagine? That would take you like
solid concrete.
It would take you like 3 years to make that special little diamond ring and have it cut and $1 million, and you go to like the Dodger game and propose, and she's like, "No, dude, I don't like you." Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to sell that ring.
Yeah,
you'd have to find somebody special. Well, I like that idea. I like the idea of sort of like Art Deco jewelry. I mean, I know there's Art Deco jewelry that existed, but that seems like a whole nother realm of Art Deco jewelry. I was more thinking the top thing was the finger itself, and then this sort of vertical banding is the ring.
It's kind of giving everybody the middle finger in a way. It's kind of like
you're right.
It's kind of like, but it's not like it's doing it in a way to where it feels. It's like if you're in class and you want to flip off the teacher, but you can't literally do the full finger, so you're doing some kind of like half abbreviated nubby version of it.
You're losing a finger. You're like,
yeah,
I wasn't giving you the finger. I don't have a finger. I've got
a muscle cramp or something.
I'm tweaking. I got Tourette's.
Yeah.
I think now I've realized what I would do to this building. Now that we're talking about cakes and traditional, I think I would just paint a whole bunch of colored scallops all over it that were sort of so you could just paint kind of right over all that.
At first I was thinking the fish, like the seafood. I'm like, I love scallops. Sauteed in butter, like all over. I see. You're talking about the scallop, the little like arches.
Yeah,
like,
the little half circle scallop.
Yeah.
But that thing, oh my God, it would look amazing if you just like, because I love the sort of graphic over the texture, kind of, there's no beating. And then it's this sort of juxtaposition of these two things. Like the Art Deco building doesn't go away, but it makes this building a little happier. Then this building would sort of, that's after this building has had quite a few drinks and it relaxes a little. And then it's fun at the party.
That's true. Yeah. Somehow it wandered into a room and met a couple people and they were like, dude, just lighten up a little, smoke this.
Break this. Yeah.
Smoke this. And then like, it's like the cut scene. It comes back like 10 minutes later and he's got the tie around his head, and he's wearing a dress that he found in the closet. And like, someone's put lipstick on him.
He's gone from no fun to too much fun.
Too much fun, yeah. No
Then everyone's
moderation.
like, all right, dude, chill out. Like, no, you don't have to be that crazy.
Yeah. I think it's in there somewhere for sure. I think part of like the layer of the detail is like he's wanting to let that out, but he's like keeping it so under control that, you know, it just needs the right amount of like some kind of chemical enhancement to
sort of,
put him over the edge.
Some sort of chemical transformative.
So he'll
product.
share his cake with the friends. Yeah.
He's not going to share the cake.
And then not only would he be the wedding cake, but he'd be the crazy guy on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Trying
and
to
then he'd be the guy that ends up puking in the trash can.
Trying to slide under the bridesmaids' dresses and stuff, like just doing ridiculous stuff. He's like
he's a party.
He's suddenly like a featured actor in The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, uptight, no more.
Yeah,
and he gets fired from his job the next day.
Well, he's got good abs, man. I certainly wish I had that sort of ripped definition.
You want that six pack, those huge pectoral muscles.
Yeah. Like I feel like you could wash your clothes on it. You know, you could use it to.
Oh, I see. You could
make
use
giant grapefruit juice. Yeah,
that's a good image.
Yeah.
I think this building hasn't been juiced enough. I think so that hopefully they'll put a Jamba Juice downstairs and it'll get its fair share of juice.
Yeah. It does need some nutrients. That could help. A couple like some green. It
does look a little unhealthy, doesn't it? Yeah.
Some wheatgrass shots would really get this thing moving.
White, pasty, psychotic.
Yeah. It also has a kind of almost like, speaking of King Kong, like I could imagine like King Kong riding this thing like a saddle. Like it's almost like this like mechanical bull kind of thing. He could like straddle up on top of the tower.
Yeah, with his legs over on
his legs over and just go, just like, you know, he would ride that through town and he would be using his toenail just to kind of cut down the buildings that he doesn't like.
all the buildings he has no respect for.
Yeah.
But wait, he would kind of look like, who are those guys that like drive around those little tiny cars in those parades?
Oh, like the Shriners.
The what?
The Shriners.
Yeah. He would kind of look like a Shriner, though. I feel like it wouldn't really be big enough. And he would be like a Shriner on that thing.
Yeah,
but he would still proudly drive it around.
This is like a King Kong go-kart, for sure.
King Kong Shriner go-kart?
Yeah. I like that. Actually, it kind of has a Shriner. It's already wearing a Shriner hat because the red tile roof on top looks like one of the Shriner caps. That's funny.
King Kong is a Shriner. Maybe that's what he is now that he's so old. He's just like...
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, you know, we talked about how sort of static and heavy it looks, but we keep kind of comparing it to sort of movement. It almost looks like the hood ornament for a submarine or something. Like it's just like kind of
a submarine. It does kind of have a submarine feel. I mean, it's true. I mean, I think it definitely accomplishes what Art Deco wanted to accomplish. You know, it definitely conveys movement, this sort of verticality. But it's funny to think that this thing to consider this thing moving horizontally. But
it can only go forward and back. It can't go side to side. They can't turn.
It's like one of those weird remote control cars that only turns one way, and so you're trying to get it always has to do like three lefts, left.
Yeah.
Sure. I recently decided they should literally ban left turns all over Los Angeles completely.
Yeah.
And so it's only illegal people that are making left turns, and then the traffic will actually flow quite a bit faster.
Yeah. It is It is the left coast.
It is. Yes. That's why we should ban them.
It is the hub of the left, so that would probably be a hard sell.
I think you're right.
Sure.
About that.
All right. How are we gonna rate this chunk of asbestos?
Yeah. Are we gonna rate it rad, bad, or sad?
So we have we haven't done an episode in a while, so just to kind of a little bit of a recap. Rad is pretty self-explanatory. Bad, it would be self-explanatory, but basically rad means it's a building that we think is really awesome and that we love. Bad is something that we probably could just, you know, if it got wiped off the earth tomorrow, we probably wouldn't care that much. And then sad is maybe something that has a lot of potential, but it's just not quite kind of meeting its possibilities, and could probably, or maybe is a little bit half-baked in terms, and this is of course is completely subjective to our own taste. So
this this is the God-given truth.
That being said, so what would you, how would you rate this thing, Ben?
I'm going to call this building sad. I'm going to go out on a limb.
Really?
I think it does have a tremendous amount of potential, but it's not like it hasn't reached the rad quality for me.
Yeah.
I think I started the show at rad and I'm ending the show. And I think now that I'm actually rating it, it's sad.
All that talk of going to the party with this guy just really bummed you out. Like this, like you're like, if the building's going to be rad, it's got to be a good wingman.
That's true.
All right. Well, I see where you're coming from. I actually am going to give it a little bit of a boost and call it rad. I think for Art Deco, I think the detail alone is so impressive to me, and I think it's kind of a unique kind of flavor Southern California version of that style, and it is just kind of so incredibly monumental that it kind of has a romantic surrealist kind of quality to it that I like. So I'll give it a rad. All
right.
So we got
one sad.
We got one rad and one sad. So that is the Rad, Bad, and Sad show. Again, thank you to Materials and Applications for asking us to participate in their new airspace. And again, you can find the video versions of this on the YouTube channel at the Architecture Underground. So,
thanks again. It's been real. We're
Goodbye.
excited to be on the airwaves. Bye bye.